Brandon the Cowboy back with you on thelibertyplaybook.com. Thanks for taking some time to be with us. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the Trump administration and what's left over of the Obama administration. And Patrick, I guess the term I use is the sense of fair play seems to have gone out the window. There are people in this administration now, leftovers, holdovers, who actively want the president to fail.
Yeah, which means they want their country to fail. And that's even worse. And it's hard to clean out some of these people because of the way the federal system works. But I would caution our president, don't wait any longer. Make an example of a few of these people. And by making an example, you know what I say you do? You perp-walk them out of the building.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Patrick worked in the government, in the federal government. You were with NASA, with the Interior Department. Where else?
NASA, DOE, and General Services Administration.
Okay, it wasn't Interior, I thought it was. It's always you have the hat on. I thought it was Interior.
Same thing, Energy, Interior. They do the same stupid stuff. But anyway, but again, you've got to make an example, and especially these leakers. These guys that are leaking top secret stuff, somebody should be arrested. And what they ought to do, as I said, come in, once you get the evidence on a guy, you come and walk right to his desk, just like you saw in the movie Wall Street. Remember? Where they walk right to Charlie Sheen's desk, and you're coming with us, buddy, and put the cuffs on in front of all your co-workers. And that's what you do to this person or persons. You bring him in there and you say, Joe Jones, stand up. He stands up, you clap the bracelets on him, and you haul him out of there. That's how you do it.
We also wonder if there are leaks within the Trump administration, the Republican Party, because a week or so ago, CNN had a camera trained outside the Oval Office, and you could see demonstrative yelling and shouting among, well, you didn't see the president, but you know it was coming from him, Steve Bannon, Reince Priebus.
Yeah.
And somebody told CNN what it was about.
Yeah, and the meeting only had so many people in it. It had Reince Priebus, Steve Bannon, the president, Jared Kushner, and Ivanka Trump. Well, that's 5 people. How did those 5 people, first of all, Jared and Ivanka aren't going to call Politico or NBC News, so who was it? It ain't Bannon, because they don't like him. I got a feeling it was Reince Priebus. Because these guys, again, they become creatures of Washington. Oh, I'm going to show what I know and everything else, and he's in a battle with Bannon, even though they say that they've kissed and made up.
And maybe Priebus was not happy with getting dressed down by the president.
Exactly, so he gets dressed down, so he goes and blabs. First, again, I want somebody executed. I want somebody taken out of that place and horsewhipped. This is ridiculous. The President of the United States can't even trust his own people? That's ridiculous.
Well, Trump has to figure out, just like we did here, it wasn't Ivanka, it wasn't Jared, probably wasn't Bannon, who's left, unless it was one of the butlers.
I'd say Reince boy.
But I like the butler did. That's a good idea.
The butler. You know what I mean? But, you come here. Right. What the hell's going on here? If I see one more thing coming out of there in a meeting, I know it ain't my kids and I know it ain't Steve, it's you.
And a lot of people think he's over his head in that job anyway.
Well, he's in the wrong job. They should have farmed him out to a secretary of some place, or he should have run a political operation.
Chris Christie, are you listening?
Yeah, the White House Chief of Staff's job is a terrible job, but you have to have a certain degree of toughness to it. And to me, he's still trying to please people outside. And he's got people in his staff that he brought in that I don't trust.
There's something Patrick and I disagree on, very politely, of course, but it's the tweeting. I think that the tweeting is counterproductive, and I think it makes the president look like a reactionary. You think that it lets him stay on top of the news cycle.
I think I would like to see less of it. I like it when he tweets about an economic thing. He says, hey, because then he's communicating with his followers, and he still is when like on the wiretap thing. What I wish he would do is, instead of, because Mark Levin said something, who cares? I really don't care what Mark Levin said, but you shouldn't be out there, trying to get ahead of that. Was he wiretapped? That's kind of a tough thing to say. Was information laid out there? Absolutely. I don't think that's a secret at all. But when you use the word wiretap, what does the press do? They go, oh my God, she's accusing us. Do I think Obama didn't lay all kinds of landmines? Absolutely he did.
Sure. And, it's against the law for a president to wiretap. Well, we know that his administration ordered wiretaps of all sorts of European officials around the world. At home, maybe not so much, but with the NSA, the CIA, that's not quite the president, but it's under his watch.
I'll tell you the guy I think's behind the whole damn thing, John Brennan, the former head of the CIA. Because during the campaign, Trump really gave him a few hard shots. And I don't trust that guy at all. And this James Clapper, a guy who lied to Congress, somehow the New York Times used him as an expert. These guys are liars, they're skunks, and you know something? They got to get rid of these people right now. And that Brennan guy, somehow they ought to bring him up on charges. I think that guy's a traitor.
There've got to be some Republican holdovers from the Bush years, maybe, who would be able to corroborate that, right?
Sure, I mean, there probably are. But again, you know, Washington's such a sewer. I mean, I think Donald Trump's finding out not only is it a swamp, it's a sewer, and it's got all kinds of stuff, and it's really hard to get to. And that's what the establishment counts on. The establishment counts on he's going to grow weary of going after him, and then they hope he settles into their way of doing things. I don't think that's Donald Trump because, one, he's not running for another office someday, and he really doesn't care about the political crap that goes on in Washington. I hope he sticks by his guns, and whether it's through the tweeting, whatever, some way just keep pushing what you're pushing and don't let Washington run you over because it is possible to beat him.
Every president has his own style, you might say, and President Trump's style seems to be let everybody get included. He's brought in all sorts of different people from the outside, whether it's the coal miners, the automakers, whoever it is, and he's bringing legislators into the White House to go bowling, social things. It's a very inclusive administration.
He's old-fashioned. Come on over. Let's have a little bowl. You know, hey, get the guy a hot dog or this and that. That's the kind of person he is, and that's going to serve him well long term. Look what he does yesterday, and I saw no place in the mainstream media. Elijah Cummings, a guy who's sworn to be his mortal enemy, accepted a lunch invitation. He goes and meets with Trump. Trump starts talking about drug prices are too high. Why? He knows that's the pet issue of Elijah Cummings. So Cummings walks out and says, well, we had a good conversation. It's like he was shocked that Trump said, I know what you're talking about. Drug prices are too high. We got to bring those down. It's hurting our seniors.
He was shocked. He doesn't realize he'd been used by the president.
Well, he'd been used, but guess what? In a positive way. Yeah. The President of the United States just grabbed your signature issue in a Republican Congress.
So how do you vote against it?
Yeah. He's so much ahead of these guys. They went out there after the election and before the inaugural, oh my God, the world's coming to an end, all this whining and stuff, until they even met the guy. It's like you mentioned the two psychiatrists from the New York Times who said, well, he's certifiable. Really? Did you examine him? Well, no. Well, guess what? You're certifiable. I didn't, examine you either. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, he's not always acting presidential in the strictest sense we know it, and that's what makes him different, and that's probably what got him elected.
Yeah, and neither did Andrew Jackson, but he pushed through the agenda that he wants to push through. I think that bowling, I think inviting people over. He's had Ted Cruz over. One, he's a social guy. He likes.
And he made peace with Rubio in Florida the other day too.
And he looks at Washington kind of like Reagan did, only they're much different styles. Reagan used the power of the White House. Think about it. You have the biggest house in the country in as far as importance, and you say, "Hey Ed, come on over. I want to. You still work at CBS. Hey Ed, come on over. I want to talk to you about a couple of things." Mm-hmm. He brings you into the aura of the presidency where there's guys waiting on your hand and foot and all this other stuff. It's like, wow.
It's like hypnosis.
Yeah. You're a congressman from Podunk. You're going, look at this. Hey, he's talking to me. Right. So I think he disarms his enemies, and given a little more time, I think Nancy Pelosi is going to be standing there going, Elijah, why did you go see the president? Because he's got my issue, you old hag.
And on that note, we'll wrap it up. Crane and the Cowboy here on thelibertyplaybook.com. We'll be following the Trump administration for you in the weeks to come as well.